All right, for more on the Appropriation Bill, we're now joined by Dr. Mmusi Maimane. He's Chairperson of Parliament's Standing Committee on Appropriations. Good afternoon. Firstly, congratulations on obtaining your PhD in Public Management and Governance. How does it feel as Dr. Maimane?
Thank you very much. And it feels like a heavy weight that has been put on you, and a responsibility now to represent your doctorate in the best way you can. So it's a privilege, it's an exciting moment, and it's a sense of pride to see that a child from Soweto with a mother who is a cashier can end up one day with a PhD. So thank you very much.
What a triumphant story. Then to the passing of the Appropriation Bill yesterday. Of course, many have said it's averted a fiscal dilemma or brings us a step closer to averting that dilemma, since the bill must still come before the NCOP. But your reaction on yesterday's outcome?
Well, I think finally we were able to get political parties to focus on people rather than on politics. Secondly, it did mean, in fact, that when you are willing to say, let's set aside the politics, now let's focus on what sits in the budgets, there must be better discussions as South Africans, because we need to bring some reforms. We need to interrogate that the health budget is enough for the people of this country. And there are many aspects that sometimes become overshadowed by the politics of personality, and we miss the ability to say, well, in policing, do we need more police? 81% of the police budget is spent on cost of employees, which means police don't have new vehicles. There are less police today than we had in 2012. So these are issues that we need to resurface. And how do we reform the economy so it grows? So I'm hoping that the lesson we take from this is that come next year, we can make the budget process smoother so that we can really get into the issues.
Now, initially before the vote, it was your hope that tensions in the GNU would dissipate to allow for the budget process to conclude. But what we witnessed yesterday speaks to the differences still being there. I mean, is this sustainable, though, going ahead?
Not at all. I mean, I'm hoping that now that the Appropriation Bill is now at this level, that's passed the National Assembly, what the Government of National Unity needs to do is to go and sit and create a plan for how to prosper South Africa. Because people are looking for work, they're looking for safety, they want their kids to be educated. Let's create a plan. Because once we have a plan, we can then create annual performance plans that feed into every department, and then say to ourselves, how do we fund for that? Because at the moment in time, what eventually happens, even when people talk about the statement of intent or what puts the GNU together, there's no organizing plan. And until we have that, every year it's going to be one issue. This year it was VAT and then Nkaban. Next year it could be another issue and another issue. But actually, if you have a plan that all parties agree to, you can then set the politics aside and then conclude that actually the work that you're trying to do is to deliver against this plan. So I'm asking urgently that after this, in August, the GNU needs to, if you like, get a Bospora together, be able to create a plan so that we can be able to show people of South Africa where this country will head up.
Now, Doctor, the issue around safety, particularly the wake of the allegations brought to the fore by General Mkhwanazi, featured prominently throughout the debates. I mean, of late, I'm sure you've seen the developments. Kenny Kunene has spoken to a number of media houses. Beyond that, we've also had an exclusive interview here as the SABC with former Hawks head General Lebeya. Your take on just all these developments at this point, specifically around the safety issue in the country?
Well, at first, when we think about policing, there's no use appointing more politicians to head up the police. This has led us to this mess. We need the best cop, the most ethical cop, a person who's been in the streets fighting crime, to head up the police. The president should have appointed one of those people rather than appointing another politician to become a minister of police. Because if we can get someone who's appointed who's that strong and independent, then they don't have to feed into the political patronage that we're starting to see. The second issue is that I agree with what other parties have called, which is for lifestyle audits of all the generals. Because then we begin to clean out the rot of police bribery and corruption. But furthermore, policing since 1994 has not gone through the significant reform, so that at the end of the day, the job of police is to keep citizens safe, so that we don't have criminals running it. So I would urge right now, that's why I keep maintaining an SIU proclamation is necessary so that we arrest people who are corrupt within the police, to devolve some of those powers so that provinces are able to figure out how to keep their citizens safe, and then ultimately the leadership to be stable so that we bring a professional police service. Otherwise, politicians are going to run and they'll keep protecting themselves.
So you're of the view that a police officer being elevated to that position of a minister would still be able to cope with the political considerations that must be made nevertheless?
I'm saying if someone comes from within the police, they don't have to deal with the political considerations. Because if you get a minister Mtunu, a minister from a political party, or whoever, when the politicians are being arrested or are being charged, they have to think about how they protect their politicians. Whereas if you directly appoint somebody who comes from the police who's ethical, because we're trying to build an ethical state here, one that we can trust, that person doesn't have political consideration. They've only got one consideration. Is this above or below the law? And if it's below the law, that person must be dealt with regardless of the political consequences. And they would then have the freedom to know that they don't have to bow to political bosses, but they only have to serve the force, serve the people, and ensure that ultimately that politicians are put behind bar who manipulate processes.
Doctor, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That's Dr. Mmusi Maimane. He's chairperson of Parliament's Standing Committee on Appropriations.